Hello, hockey fans. On into the neutral zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We are down to our final four in the NHL playoffs. It is the Rangers, it is the Panthers out east, and then out west, we've got Edmonton and we've got Dallas. Might we finally see a Canadian team in a regular Stanley Cup final for the first time in heaven only knows and remembers how long? Either way, no matter what, we are going to have somebody that is going to be raising Lord Stanley's Cup that hasn't done it for quite a while. None of these teams are in action tonight, but that doesn't mean that we won't be breaking it down and getting it prepped and getting you ready for these two excellent series. But the NHL isn't the only thing having playoffs going on right now. The Professional Women's Hockey League has made it to its finals. The Walter Cup Finals are underway. Will Boston bring home the first ever PWHL title, or will it be the state of hockey, Minnesota, that defies the odds and gets the job done? We will get you caught up to date on everything going on in the women's game as well. All that plus more coming up right now on the Neutral Zone. Do not go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome on into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So glad that you are here with us. Sorry for the slight technical delay there in getting the show started. We had to get the Instagram feed live up and running as well, but we are good. We are streaming live for you on all the major platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are there live for you. Or if you're listening later on in the week as a podcast on Spreaker or Spotify or Gio7, wherever it is, welcome. Glad that you are here. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Zach Puplis will be with us a little bit later. He's finishing up with some other things going on off ice, if you will. So he will be on with us a little bit later. Tons to go through in the show tonight. No NHL games in action tonight, but that means we get a chance to actually set the stage for you a little bit and actually preview the conference finals going on. So we will have some fun doing that for you. And of course, we will be talking all about the women's game as well, getting you caught up in the Walter Cup Finals. Game 2 is just wrapping up between Boston and Minnesota, so we'll get you all caught up there. But before we go any further, we do want to hear a quick word from our sponsors here at IE Sports Radio. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm. single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to the smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seal.
And welcome back on into the neutral zone here on IE Sports Radio. Thank you again to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can find them on Instagram at Planet Jerky, and also to Seal the Deal Wax Seals. You find them on Instagram at Seal the Deal _wax stamps, or on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Sorry for the little bit of bad connection there on the drops. I think I got to work on just getting a little bit stronger connection here where I do the shows. So I've got some ideas for that. I will play around with it and see if I can make that a little stronger. Sorry about that, but IE Sports Radio, of course, has been around for the last 10 years now, bringing you outstanding content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to authorized media personnel and getting you up to date on everything happening in the sports world, whether it has been with our regional shows or sports-centric shows like this one, and we will continue to be out there for you every single week. Follow IE Sports Radio on all the major social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or X, at IESR. IE Sports Radio is where to find us and follow along with us, or just check out our website, iesportsradio.com, to check out everything local and going on there. This show is also available for you on Twitter. You can find us at IESR Neutral Zone on Twitter or X, whatever your preferred handle for it is. I am also on X. You can follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick, or you can follow along with Zach. He is at The Pupless. Thank you again for hanging on in there and being there with us tonight. Lots to go through No games in the NHL tonight. Notice I didn't say no games, period. No games in the NHL tonight, but that doesn't mean that we won't have some fun and be getting through some things here. We'll be starting things off. We get to do some conference finals previews. Before we go into those, though, Larry comments that the Canucks deserved it just as much as the Oilers. It's too bad that the Oilers and Canucks both couldn't make it. That was an outstanding series and a terrific seventh game as well going on last night. Game 7 is always just an outstanding thing. I loved how Matthew Owens put it. Matthew Owens over at our sister station USRN does a lot of hosting, play-by-play, lots of hockey content. He also jumps onto this show from time to time when he's free and not busy calling games. He put it, Game 7 is the greatest spectacle in sports, provided that your team isn't one of the two involved in the game. Then it's terrifying. And last night was a terrific example of that between Edmonton and Vancouver. Vancouver, my goodness, just some terrific play in net going on there with the Canucks. Just some outstanding play overall to keep that scoreless through the first period. I was stunned at some of the saves that we saw there getting made. 13 saves last night for Silva with that. Just some outstanding work in net as Edmonton poured it on through the first period. Vancouver only getting off 2 shots total in the entire first period there, before ultimately getting back into it a little bit. But still, Edmonton just came on in waves. The Oilers did not want to be outdone or miss out on their opportunity to yet again make it to the Western Conference Final. The entire second round was terrific. I mean, all of the series, there wasn't a short series in the bunch. We thought that maybe Rangers Hurricanes would wind up being a short series. Instead, that one wound up going 6, wound up going nearly the distance there with the Rangers. Chris Kreider, an otherworldly performance in the third period, the natural hat trick to eliminate the Hurricanes. That'll put Kreider into New York Rangers immortality. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into the Eastern Conference final preview. But all of the series were excellent. You had 3 series go 6 games, and then of course the Edmonton and Vancouver series went the distance, the full 7. So just some absolutely terrific hockey going on there. Some great stuff going on. Kudos to all the teams. You get to what's still officially referred to as the second round. I've come to think of it as the divisional final. We'll see if we can get that to stick. I know it's a little high schooly. It's a little I don't know. We'll see if we can get it to stick. I like the sound of it personally. I think it sounds great. I like the looks of it, but it's not up to me, I suppose. But the second round, there's no bad teams that make it into the second round of the playoffs. So some terrific hockey overall, some great stuff overall played there. And now we're into the Final Four. So it is Florida, New York in the East, and Dallas, Edmonton out West. And we're going to see whoever winds up winning the finals at this point, whoever makes it. We're talking about somebody that hasn't won the cup in 25 years or more for some of these teams. So we are going to see some long-suffering fan bases get some much needed reprieves here, whether it's whether it's the Rangers who, haven't been to the final since 2013, whether it's Florida that got curb stomped last year, whether it's Dallas or Edmonton, who it's been, close to 30 years for Dallas and even longer for Edmonton since they've won championships. We're going to see somebody we're going to see somebody and something exciting in this. So let's dive into some of these previews here as we say good evening also to Ralph Calise, and he's jumping ahead. He is predicting Florida versus Edmonton in the Stanley Cup final. I like that prediction. It's not my prediction, but I like where you're going there. That would be, Zach and I have been very Edmonton heavy and very pro Edmonton for the last several years. So it would not be totally out of the realm of possible. I don't think either Zach or myself would be upset if that's indeed what it winds up being. Well, let's dive into and let's jump into the Eastern Conference final preview, shall we? That's the series that is going to be starting first. They're going to be dropping the puck tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden in one of the greatest arenas in North American sports. These two teams have not met in the playoffs since 1997. This is a matchup that we have not had in a very, very long time here at this point. So Rangers and Panthers. We'll set the stage a little bit here on how these two teams have gotten here. Of course, the Rangers took down the Hurricanes in 6 games in the second round. It looked like that series could have gone as quickly as a sweep. The Rangers took the first 3 before Carolina. Really, the series righted itself. The Rangers, yes, they had taken the first 3 games, but by no means had New York dominated that series. Carolina deserved to take at least 1 game. And in fact, the Hurricanes took 2 before finally falling on home ice in game 6. Chris Kreider, the game 6 hero there. And that was after New York had swept the Washington Capitals in the first round. So it looked for a while there like the Rangers might not lose a game before making it all the way into the Eastern Conference final. So a relatively easy path for the Rangers getting here. Florida, a little tougher, but not a lot. The first round, the Battle of Florida between the Panthers and the Lightning Bolts, and Tampa Bay went down in 5. Florida made it a fairly quick series, won that in 5, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yes, I said Lightning Bolts. Deal with it. I was mixing their name and their Twitter handle. Sue me. Malprops are wonderful things, aren't they? And then before a rematch with Boston in the second round, and I didn't expect that the round against Boston would go terribly deep, and it went 6. That was a better showing from a better showing from Boston than I thought that we'd see. I thought Florida would handle business fairly comfortably, fairly handily. That did go 6 games, but Florida never trailed in the series. In fact, neither the Rangers nor Florida has faced elimination yet in these playoffs. They've both, in fact, I'm going to double check here when I say this, but I'm fairly certain in saying that neither one of them has trailed. Oh, no, I take that back. Boston did take game 1 in the series against Florida. So Florida has trailed all of 1 game in this series, in this playoffs, in this postseason. The Rangers have yet to trail at all in these playoffs. The Rangers won their first 7 playoff games. So they have yet to face any kind of pressure from behind. We'll see how that goes. These two teams match up very well with each other. Florida has outscored New York in these playoffs just a touch by just a goal or 2. Florida is averaging 3.55 goals per night in these playoffs. The Rangers are averaging 3.4. So very close to each other there defensively. They're both giving up just over 2 goals a night, 2.5 for the Rangers, while it's a little under 2.5 for the Panthers. In net, both teams very similar. You've got, of course, Igor Shesterkin in net for the Rangers, and you've got Sergei Bobrovsky over for the Panthers. Shesterkin, of course, a younger goalie on the rise, on the way up in his NHL career and in his rise to dominance, one of the best young goaltenders in the NHL right now. For Bobrovsky, obviously he's closer to the end of his career rather than the beginning of it, but still playing some terrific hockey. Bobrovsky stopping over 90% of the shots he's faced in these playoffs. Shesterkin over 92% of the shots he has faced in these playoffs. So some great goaltending going on there with both of these teams. Power play, the Rangers have boasted the best and strongest power play unit in these playoffs, converting at over 30%, 31% on the power play right now is New York. I don't know that the Rangers want to necessarily rely on that, though, because the penalty kill for Florida, while overall in the playoffs is a little on the weaker side, Florida was 15 of 16 on penalty kills in that second round against Boston. Boston converted just one power play in 16 tries against Florida in that second round. And in fact, Boston, a lot of times in that second round, couldn't even get set up, couldn't even get organized in the offensive zone. That's how strong and dominant Florida's penalty kill was in that second round. So that penalty kill unit for Florida is coming in hot as they get into these Eastern Conference Finals. I think what we're going to come down to, what we're seeing is two very, very good teams. They both won their divisions in the regular season. They both match up well against each other. They're both very strong teams overall, slightly different styles in that Florida would rather play a more muscular, more physical game, less speed, more physicality in it, whereas the Rangers, they'd like to open it up a little bit more, get you moving up and down the ice, have the puck moving all around, get into a cycle, get into those offensive sets that they can operate so comfortably out of. But at the same time, Florida can move up and down the ice. They are willing to skate with you. Yes, they'd rather, if they'd have their own way, they would rather get into a physical game. They'd rather hit you and play rough and tumble, but they're very happy to play with a more, they're happy to play up and down and skate up and down the ice quickly on you. Where I think this series could get interesting, I was as I was doing some research and listening to some different things and getting some different perspectives, getting ready for this series. The hockey guy on YouTube pointed out that it does not matter which team scores first in this series. Both the Rangers and the Panthers are very comfortable coming back from giving up the first goal. Where things could get interesting in this series, I think, is looking at who's leading after two. Now the Rangers have shown that they're comfortable. They can go into that third period trailing and they can still get themselves back in. They're just fine doing that. They're not worried about that. Florida, on the other hand, is not. Florida has, I believe, only won one time in these playoffs when trailing at the end of three. Oh, excuse me, at the end of course, at the end of three. Trailing at the end of three. Yeah, they've come back and won. Dummy. Trailing at the end of two. So if Florida is going to have success in this series, they're going to need to have the lead after two. That's where, because if you go into the third period trailing, that's where Shesterkin can absolutely stand on his head and keep you from having any success. And the Rangers are certainly capable of pouring it on late. Florida does not want to get in a position where it feels like it needs to press. That's where the Panthers don't necessarily match up well, is when they're having to press against you and get into a little bit faster and much more hectic of a game. That's where they run into trouble. So I think it's imperative in this series for Florida, they will need to be playing from ahead in the third period. Not that that's a guarantee for, not to say that the Rangers can't score in the third period, because they clearly can. You know, Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider, heck, even Adam Fox can get into you, and they're certainly capable of scoring late in games and flipping games on their head. But Bobrovsky is seasoned. He knows how to protect a lead in front. You're not going to catch either of these head coaches off guard. You're not going to throw something at these guys that they haven't seen before in this series. But Florida just seems to struggle a little bit more, needing to play from behind in the third period. They struggle doing that a little bit more than New York does. So I think it's imperative, if you're Florida, don't be trailing after 40 minutes. Have it be tied or be in front. If you're the Rangers, just keep doing what you've been doing. There's no reason to think that the Rangers would be uncomfortable in any scenario in this postseason, in this series. Florida did take the season series overall against the Rangers. It was Florida was 2-0-1 against the Rangers in the regular season. Take that with a grain of salt. You throw all that out the window at this point in the playoffs. I'm calling for, at this point, as we have Ralph Calise commenting, the Eastern Conference Final could be a home game for the Rangers with all the fans who live in Florida. Yeah, you're not necessarily, that's any potential disadvantage for any Southern Florida team, that, you're always having migrants or transplants. Yeah, the Rangers shouldn't feel out of place anywhere. And let's face it, they travel well anyway. They're the Rangers, and just as a team, they play well on the road as well as they do at home. I like the Rangers in this series. I think they match up well, and I'm going to give just the slight edge to the Rangers. Not that the Panthers can't take the series. Not that there's anything that would happen that would say Florida has no shot. Even if Florida gets down 3-1 or 3-0, even, we saw them last year fall behind 3-1 to Boston and come storming back and take the series. So there's no reason to me to think that Florida isn't capable of coming from behind. If you're New York, do not take your foot off the gas pedal at any point in this series. But I'm going to give the slight edge to the Rangers in this one. I think it'll be New York making it to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2013. And we'll see how that goes. We talked about that series a little bit, or excuse me, not 2013, 2014. I apologize. We talked about that series a little bit last week as part of the IE Sports Radio 10th anniversary show a little bit. Let's move over then and talk about the Western Conference Finals as that got clinched last night. Again, a terrific Game 7. Edmonton absolutely poured it on from the word go last night. Edmonton was bound and determined, and it was all Sheilov could do to keep Vancouver in a heroic effort from the Vancouver netminder. That was as impressive of a game that you will see in net anywhere being played. That was just, you talk about willing your team to stay in it. That is what you saw last night. That is what you saw in net last night from Arturs Shilovs. That was an amazing performance, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. That just Vancouver could not get out of its own end enough times to ultimately win it. A great comeback, some great opportunities late in that game for Vancouver. They got themselves back in it in the third period. There you were seeing good things from them, but ultimately just too much to overcome, just wave after wave of Edmonton offense. So now you get into the Western Conference Final, and now awaiting Edmonton, you have the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars. Now, before the playoffs started, the Stars were my pick to make it to the Stanley Cup Final. So I'm gonna spoil it right now and just say that it's still Dallas that I'm ultimately going to take in this series. But some Edmonton, of course, what you're always worried about with the Oilers, they, of course, the video game numbers that we talk about every single week when we talk about Edmonton, with whether it's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Connor McDavid or Evander Kane or Leon Draisaitl, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just, they can hit you from anywhere at any time. All four lines roll so deep for Edmonton. They are just always able to get one on you. What worries me and what always gives me concern with Edmonton is their play in net. Skinner, I do not have confidence in him. And that's what's the key is going to be here for Dallas, is put Edmonton on their heels. That's what I think we're going to see from Dallas. Roop Hintz or any of the other the talented offense there in Dallas, they can take it to Edmonton. They can put them on their heels a little bit, get a quick one or two behind Skinner, and suddenly that is going to put the Oilers on their heels, and that will force them to reevaluate and change a little bit. And then on the other end, Jake Ottinger is just playing so incredibly well right now in net for Dallas. He is making so many fantastic saves, whether it's high scoring areas, low scoring areas, high, low, glove side, paddle side, 5-hole. Ottinger is stopping everything that's coming his way. Colorado was a fantastic test for Jake Ottinger. I don't want to disparage Colorado in any way, but Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon and all the other tremendous goal scorers there in Colorado, that's a tremendous warm-up for facing Edmonton. And Ottinger passed the test with flying colors. So I have no qualms about feeling that Ottinger could very easily have success against this Edmonton offense, against these Oilers, who, these two teams haven't played each other. It's been 3 months since they've seen each other. They last played in Dallas on February 17th. That's the last time these two teams met up. That was an overtime win for Edmonton, 4-3. The 3 games that they played against each other, or excuse me, I missed a game. They played each other in April. I'm sorry. So it's been since April 3rd. So still a month and a half since they've played each other. The Stars took 2 out of the 3 in the regular season series. They were 2-0-1 against Edmonton. Again, take that with a grain of salt, because we are, it is playoffs. It is a totally different thing. But the difference in net to me is just so big. That to me that's where I feel that's where the difference is going to come in this series, in this series. I don't, the Rangers, Florida, I could see that going easily 6 games. I wouldn't be shocked at all if it went the distance, if it went a full 7. That would not surprise me. That would not shock me at all. Just not at all. Not in the slightest. If that were to go 7. This series, the Western Conference Final, this one I would be a little surprised if it were to go that deep. I wouldn't be surprised if this winds up being a 5-game series. As Zach is here, Zach, what do you think of that when I say that Edmonton versus Dallas could only be a 5-game series? Am I off my rocker?
Oh, wow. Well, just based off the previous series, it could go longer than that. I mean, again, we go back to our trust meter, whatever. And who do you trust? Do you trust Edmonton 100%? Not always.
It's that back. It's the defense, and then it's Skinner. There's so much where these two teams, and I'm glad you're here because you did more of the prep on the Western than I did. These two teams, they match up very well offensively. I mean, obviously, there's nobody that shot for shot can just score from anywhere on the ice at any time like Edmonton. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
But there's such a clear advantage with Dallas in net with Jake Ottinger versus Skinner for Edmonton. Tell me your thoughts on this series.
What's
Oh no. Oh no. He's allergic to microphones. Quick.
Oh no. Oh wow. Well, first off, the one I was reading said that there's a lot to suggest the Stars have had the roughest path to get here, the hardest time of any team, hardest route to get to the conference final. They beat defending Stanley Cup champ Vegas. They defeated last year's, I guess 2 years ago, champion the Avalanche in round 2. Facing the two most recent Cup champions allowed the Stars to showcase their ability to come back in the series. Having 0-2 holes in both of them, it feels like.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way Ottinger has played, I mean, he's just been lights out the whole playoffs. And Edmonton, that's always seemed to have been their Achilles heels, goaltending. So, if Skinner can take the next step, then we'll see. And that's been their goal from the beginning of the season. Cup or bust. They got the core to do it. The window's open. You might as well strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. This is definitely for Edmonton. It is now. It's now or never. You got to do this thing, man.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, you've got Connor McDavid for forever. He will be playing hockey into his 40s. As long as he stays healthy. But there's so many other pieces there that if you don't do this now, your window might close for a year or two while you have to do a little bit of a reset.
Yeah. Well, here, this one says how the Oilers match up against the Stars. One team is the most prolific of these playoffs, while the other has been one of the best at goal prevention throughout the postseason. So, yeah, again, the epitome of offense versus the epitome of defense. Just one of the prisms through which the Oilers Stars final can be viewed. Scoring remains a hallmark of the Oilers. They've used these playoffs to show that their defensive structure can also generate results. Continuing to rely on these principles could prove useful against a Stars team that is also capable of winning games in a variety of ways. And like we said, if Skinner can take the next step, if he can provide the same sort of stability in net, then to at least equal Ottinger, that could be enough to push the Oilers to the Stanley Cup final for the first time since 2006.
Yeah.
That's a big if, isn't it?
That's a big if. That's a big if. I mean, you're talking, okay. I talked about, of course, the obvious
Alberta-sized if.
Right. I mean, I talked about how we all know the names in Edmonton, Nugent Hopkins and McDavid, Evander Kane, et al., et cetera, Wyatt Johnson, Jason Robertson, Roop Hintz. Those are, Jamie Benn. Those guys are not exactly slouches either. Yeah. It's not like the Stars can't roll up on you either.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Let's see. So, one of the big questions again, how will Stuart Skinner perform on the big stage?
So that is the huge question for me in this is, who do you have coming out of this series?
I'm still sticking with Edmonton. I mean, they were my pick from earlier in the playoffs, so I might as well roll with them.
you're gonna roll, and I am gonna stick with Dallas. I think it's gonna be Dallas. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 5-game series. It really would not surprise me. How long of a series do you think this will be?
Well, let's see. The Stars' latest one was 6. Edmonton's latest was 7. So I mean, nobody really has much of an advantage there. It's not like there's the whole rust versus rest whole thing.
They are getting a couple days. They don't drop the puck until Thursday on this one.
I noticed that too. And I was looking at that and I'm like, okay, it's not as much of an oversight as last round's starting matchup was for Vancouver and Edmonton. I feel like that one could have gotten started days earlier.
Yeah.
But I feel like they get at least, had they shifted the other series up a day, you could have saved a day in there somewhere. Like if they shifted the Eastern Conference up a day from what I was looking at.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing at this point, it's very obvious why they're doing it. It's so that you have 14 straight days of hockey. You're just Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There might only be one game, but there's gonna be NHL hockey on every night. So I appreciate that.
Oh, me too. I mean, that's the best part of this time of year is that you get hockey every single night, and then eventually, I mean, you also get basketball every single night, up until a certain point, and then you just when it gets to the Western Conference, the Eastern Conference Finals plus the actual finals, then it's like, okay, you alternate. You get hockey one night, basketball one night, hockey night.
Mm-hmm. Boy, our guy Drewski, the host of our Dallas show, he might be a busy boy. I mean, the Stars, if my prediction holds up, the Stars are going to be in the finals. He might have the Mavericks over there too in the NBA finals. He might be a busy boy.
Stars and Mavs. Yeah, it reminds me a couple years ago when Tampa Bay was all the rage.
And they both play there at American Airlines. So American Airlines Arena could be in for a busy time too, as my camera tries to take off on me.
A la Madison Square Garden. Well, guys, we're so booked. Where are we going to fit these games in? Well, I mean, we got to wait a couple more days, and then we'll.
Sorry, Billy. You're just going to have to wait, Billy. We got to get in hockey first. Everybody knows Piano Man at this point, Billy. We all know it.
and we all know that you didn't start the fire, but still.
You keep singing about it. Where he keeps denying that much, there's guilt there. There's guilt there, Billy.
He's just trying to gaslight us all.
He is. Ooh. Was that a pun?
Well, if it works both ways.
I like it. All right. Well, speaking of hockey on every night.
Oh, we never got my answer. I'm going to go.
I'm sorry. Yes. How deep do you see this series going? I'm sorry. Before I tease the next thing,
I'm going to go Game 7.
All right. So you have Edmonton in 7. I have Dallas in 5. It means that reality this is going 6, and one of them has to win. So one of us will be right there.
Pick a geographical point between Edmonton and Dallas, and that'll be the winner.
Vegas got eliminated already. I'm sorry, they can't come back in and just win.
Oh, dang it! No consolation bracket.
No take backs. No tap backs. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
And while I got you real quick, who do you like in the East then?
Oh man.
I said Rangers in 7.
I'm gonna go Rangers in 6. And I'm gonna say Rangers if for no other reason than original 6 team, and let's go with the old adage that they shouldn't play hockey in the desert or any place where it doesn't get cold.
Oh, so the fact that Florida made it, last year means nothing.
Well, I mean, there's that too, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Right. I just think New York's been really good every all year, and up in they were at one point undefeated in the playoffs, which that's hard to do. And
they took their first 7.
Yeah, and to this point, they only still have 2 losses in the playoffs.
So yeah, they're on a good stretch. Well, you commented how this time of year there's hockey on every single night. There's no NHL tonight, but that doesn't mean that there isn't hockey going on tonight. Tonight was game 2 of the first ever Walter Cup Finals for the PWHL, the Professional Women's League. We will recap that game and get you caught up on everything going on there next. This is the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to the 305, aka the Magic City, and this is Magic City Scoreboard. I'm your host, JB, and right here we're going to talk anything Miami. Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Miami Hurricanes, Marlins, Panthers, Inter Miami, and even high school football. So join me once a week right here on Magic City Scoreboard on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed to all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a city that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No. Not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehard just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may. Sports fans, if you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports, because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
And welcome back into the neutral zone here on IE Sports Radio feed for all that is sports. Adam and Zach back with you here for a few more minutes here on this Tuesday night. Well, you heard us. You may have heard me before the break there talk a little bit. Of course, we were talking lots of NHL through the first big portion of the show, but the NHL is not the only playoffs going on right now in the hockey world. Earlier tonight was game 2 of the PWHL's finals, their championship series, the Walter Cup Finals. PWHL Minnesota versus PWHL Boston, making it Minnesota won tonight 3-0. Sophie Jacques with 2 goals. Nicole Hensley with a 20-save shutout for Minnesota. So that series is tied at a game apiece. And I figured since this is the first year for the PWHL and first year for obviously everything with them, so obviously the first season that we've been talking about them, I figured I'd set the stage for everybody a little bit and get everybody kind of caught up on where things are with that league, with this series, how everything kind of works for them. So in the PWHL, every playoff series is a best of 5. So the championship series, the Walter Cups are a best of 5. So they're now that they're tied at a game apiece, it's a best of 3. Whoever wins 2 more games, that's who's going to take this series. The first 2 games have been in Boston. The series will now shift to Minnesota for the next 2. So Minnesota has effectively claimed home ice here. Game 1 was Sunday night. Game 1 was a ton of fun. Zach, I don't know if you caught any of it. It's been it was some terrific hockey, a lot of fun to watch the other night. They're broadcasting all of their games. There are local, in the local markets, there are television networks, Bally Sports North in Minnesota, TSA in Canada, I believe, is broadcasting it. They have some regular NESN in the Northeast area, in the New England area, is broadcasting the games locally. But the national broadcast, the PWHL, is broadcasting for free on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
So you can watch the games. There were over 7,000 people watching the game live on YouTube on Sunday night. It's a good broadcast. It's a good, check it out. It costs you nothing. If you have access to the internet, you can check it out. You can see it there. So it is outstanding stuff. Boston took game 1 in strong fashion, 4-3. Boston got out to, Michaela Kava, who also scored what was ultimately the winning goal tonight for Minnesota. She also scored the first goal in Walter Cup Finals history. 4:38 into the first period, but then Boston, Susanna Tapani, got the equalizer very shortly thereafter, less than 3 minutes later. Minnesota took the lead again in the second period. Boston then 3 of the final 4 goals, all in the third period, before it was all defense in the third period. Boston had I don't know if I should choose my words carefully, because while it was easier than Minnesota's path into the playoffs, it wasn't exactly, the easiest. They did sweep Montreal, but they needed double overtime and triple overtime in order to do it. So it was not the easiest path for Boston to get there. Minnesota, meanwhile, was the last team to get into the playoffs. They were the fourth and final team to get in. It required Ottawa losing on the last day in order to get Minnesota in, which then meant that this was a cool wrinkle. I want to hear, Zach, what you think of this wrinkle that the PWHL does. When you're the top seed, which is what Toronto was in the playoffs, you get to pick who your first opponent is. You get to pick whether or not you want to take on the 3 or the 4 seed.
I like that.
And Toronto said, yeah, we'll take Minnesota. We'll take on Minnesota. Thanks. Toronto won the first 2 games, only for Minnesota to turn around and do a reverse sweep and take the final 3.
Oh my gosh. That's a little bit of like a grade school flair to it. You pick your team, pick your opponent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Larry chiming into the chat room. He likes that. He loves that. He loves that idea, that concept.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that backfired on him for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started off great. They took the first 2 games. They didn't give up a goal in the first 2 games of their semifinal. It was 4-0 and then 2-0.
Ooh.
And then it was all of a sudden Toronto went cold. Toronto scored a goal in the final 3 games of that series.
Well, with it being best of 5, all they had to do was win one more.
Win one more. The game 4 was a double overtime too.
That's a doozy. Wow.
That was a doozy of a series. So yeah, Toronto getting to pick their own opponent, that didn't exactly go their way like they hoped.
So there were 6 teams. It was a la like an original 6 basically. And only 4 make it to the playoffs, so it's just two semis.
Yep, 2 semis and then the finals. Yep.
Okay, got it.
So yep, that, and now we are on our way into the finals, and we are tied at one apiece through
Sure.
2 games. So now we have game 3. So tonight was game 2. Game 3 is all the way on Friday. So they now get a nice rest. They get 2 days off for travel purposes.
Sure.
And then Friday, then Sunday, and then if we need it, game 5 is a week from tomorrow back in Boston.
Okay.
So they get a couple days off for travel, and then 2 games in Minnesota. I haven't watched a ton of the PWHL, but I made a point to sit down on Sunday, and it was very enjoyable.
Okay.
Very enjoyable. So
I'll have to give it a shot.
So I would highly recommend it, and it will hopefully next week we will be breaking down the first ever Walter Cup Finals champion.
There we go.
All right, Larry's throwing a good one at us here. Craziest thing to ever happen on the ice in history. Zach, I'll let you take that one first. The first thing that came to mind for me is insanely morbid. So I want to come up with something far less bad.
I think our minds might have gone to the same place.
Yeah. The first thing that came to mind is like one of those, like, oh God, I don't want to remember this. So
yeah. Let's go the first time anybody threw any octopi, catfish, rat on the ice.
That's what I was thinking of. Go, yeah, what harebrained moron decided to throw an octopus on the ice in Detroit? Who decided this was a good idea?
I love the new commercial they've got out there where the guy tapes the catfish to his chest and puts the jersey on over it, and love makes you do crazy things, and this is love for hockey or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Throwing the fish on the ice. Nashville's just weird. Nashville's just weird. Larry liked that one. Yep. The throwing of the octopi, or throwing of the fish or squid, or all the wonderful fun things.
Yes.
All the wonderful fun things. I mean, all right, so this is slightly less morbid. The brawl between Detroit and Colorado in 98.
Classic.
That is, I mean, just watching Patrick Waugh skate halfway down the ice, and then just watching 2 elephants collide at center ice as Waugh and the Red Wings goalie just dive into each other, as literally every player on the ice between Colorado and Detroit was in fisticuffs.
Right.
And the refs very quickly figured out, you know what? There's 10 of them. There's 12 of them when you count the goalies. There's only 3 of us. I'm not getting paid enough to deal with this. Not you. Yep.
Nope.
Nope. I'm not getting in the middle of this. When somebody goes down, okay, then I'll step in. Until then, nope. I want nothing to do with this. I got nothing to do with this.
10-foot pole.
Yeah, they don't pay me enough to deal with this kind of crap. Larry asking a very important question here.
Right.
What happens in that instance? Does everyone go in the penalty box? What happens here? Well, the first thing you had to do in this instance was you had to get the ice crew out, and they literally had to scrape all the blood off the ice.
Oh God.
Because it was horrifying how bad. I mean, it looked like a horror movie when they were done. There were buckets of blood on the ice that you had to go by and you had to scrape up and clean up and all that. Of course, I'm doing this off the top of my head, and I'm going to try to do my best without looking anything up here. Zach, you feel free to go ahead and cheat and correct me.
Well, here actually. Well, I have a side note. If you want to look it up while I talk.
All right.
I will try to do my best to filibuster while you find it. I love the one where the little guy picked on Zdeno Chara.
Oh, there's a soft spot in my heart.
And the guy's like, what,
that.
Like 5'4", and Zdeno's like, what is he, 6'8" or something?
Yes, you have 6'8" Zdeno Chara, one of just the biggest hulks in hockey. And then you have this little 5'10", fourth line, first year in the NHL forward who was, I'm going to stick up for my teammate. And even the Red Wings coach was laughing at him. As what are you doing?
Poor life decision, buddy. Poor life decision.
Yeah, what are you doing? No. I love this. I love the spirit. And even Chara was like, you really want to do this? You really want to go? And he kept backing up. Like it was almost like he was trying to get Chara off of his teammate by presenting himself as a target.
Right. Nice tasty bait.
Exactly. And Chara, to his credit, did not flatten the poor kid.
Right.
he scared the bejesus out of him. It was a good thing it was the end of the period and he could go change his shorts because he was going to need to.
Otherwise, they'd probably still be scraping him off the ice.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Man. Yeah. Well, I'll have to find these links and share them out on the Neutral Zone Twitter feed here to have some fun with it. But yeah, Larry having some fun. They have 6'8" versus 5'4". Yeah. The brawl that I was referring to, March 26, 1997 at Joe Louis Arena. It's the nickname for it is now Bloody Wednesday.
Oh gosh.
And you look at the pictures from it. It is, oh my goodness. It is. You've got guys who are just, one of the players for the Avs looks like his eye is gone. There's that much blood on his face. There's just bodies everywhere on the ice. I don't think you had anybody come off the bench because that is the cardinal sin is you don't jump off the bench exclusively to add to a fight. You know, if you're on the ice, that's one thing, but you don't leave the bench just to get into a fight. But the most memorable part of the whole thing for me is Patrick Waugh and then the Red Wings goalie realizing, well, everybody else is fighting. You want to go? Yeah, I want to go. And Waugh going pell-mell full speed, and the two of them just like sumo wrestlers colliding, just crashing into each other.
Dang.
It is, oh my goodness. So yeah, that's probably my craziest one that I've seen on ice that at least, didn't end in, death. You still had to have, you still had to have guys go to the hospital and things like that. But it was all the result of a Red Wings player that did get hospitalized earlier in the season.
Sure.
Was the result. And so as the Red Wings were saying, yeah, that was dirty. That was lowbrow. That was, you know what you did. And we're not, and we are not going to stand for it.
Well, in the words of one of our favorite actors, they send one of ours to the hospital. We send one of theirs to the morgue. That's the Chicago way.
That's the Chicago way. Exactly. Exactly. One of the best Sean Connery movies ever.
Yes.
It's 40 years old now too. Ay, ay, ay. But anyway,
Classic.
that got us very off topic, by the way. Thank you for that, Larry. I mean, we've been pretty good. We had stayed on topic. We were staying right in it. And then, you got to give the people what they want. So give the people what they want, as Larry is liking the Sean Connery accents there. We try our best. So we try our best. And on that note, I think we're on a high note. I think we better well is just end the show right there on that high note. As how the horn is going to sound. That does it for our show here tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Larry B, for chatting with us, and also for all the hard work you do behind the scenes, good sir. It does not go unnoticed or unappreciated. Thank you again to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can find them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Also, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. Find them on Instagram at Seal the Deal _wax stamps, or Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Thank you also to Ralph Calise and Taryn Rodriguez for hanging out with us in the chat room. Thank you to everybody that was watching the show tonight live across Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Thank you to everybody that listened during the week, whether it was on Spreaker or iHeartRadio, Gio7 or Spotify, any of the places where you find us. Thank you for making us part of your sports week. Next week, we are going to be breaking down the conference finals even further. We will react to the first several games in the series. We'll see how all that's been going. Who knows? Maybe we will know what our Stanley Cup final is going to be, or at the very least, have a strong feeling on it one way or the other. We may also have occur during the week. We may have our first PWHL champion. We will be there to break down games 3 and 4 for that as well as some changes all going on throughout the NHL, the coaching carousel, and veterans that might be on the move, veterans that might be staying, and all kinds of fun, plus our usual witty banter and all kinds of craziness that we get ourselves into here on this show. He is Zach Puplist. I am Adam Karnick. Together, we are the Neutral Zone. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you next time.